everyone, it's Jill Foster here with another Simply Shimmer, Simply Penny Black stamping video where the focus is on basic stamping and the joy of painting. And here's a look at the projects we'll be creating today. And these miniature painted pieces are great for miniature greeting cards. They're fun to add to a gift bag for a handmade touch, just punch a hole at the top and attach them with ribbon. Or they're great for place cards if you're working ahead on a Thanksgiving tablescape. The paints that I'm using are the Shimmerz Aqua Hues. These are a non-shimmering watercolor. And the stamps that I'm using by Penny Black are Autumn Dance. And then I'll also show you a variation using Flower Box. And here's a look at the card that we'll actually be painting in the video today, but the techniques can be applied for all of the other color schemes. I'm doing all of my stamping and painting on Art Squares by Inchy Arts, and this is the swatches size, which is 2 inches by 4 inches. These are a matte board square, and what's great is because I'm going to be doing a lot of wet on wet blending, and they will hold up to lots of layers of water. And here I'm just inking up my stamp Autumn Dance using StazOn ink in the color of Ganache. And this is a larger stamp, and then I'm just putting my art square face down and then rubbing with the back of my hand to do the stamping. So I could see exactly where I was placing this on the stamp. And I like to stamp a lot of these in advance, so I have everything ready to paint whenever I have a chance to get inky and sit down and do some painting. So I get everything stamped and get my paints out and ready to go. And you can rotate where you add your swatch art square so that each stamped piece has just a little bit different look. So that's what I've done here. And then off camera I also did this using the Penny Black stamp flower box, and I'll show you those variations at the end. And then I'll just lift that up and you can see the stamped images, and now they're just a little bit different. So for this painting, I'm using the Aqua Hues. These come dry and you add water and let it sit. I like to let them sit for at least about 10 minutes and then stir them up and they're ready to go. The longer you let them sit with the water, the creamier and more vibrant the color will be. This color is Pot of Gold, and I'm painting the entire leaf, and I'm working one leaf at a time. And I'm doing some wet on wet blending. So while that is still wet, I'll take the color Seeing Red, and I'm just going to drop that in onto the wet surface. And you can see it start to blend and move a little bit. Next, I'm grabbing the color Crazy Daisy, and again, while still wet, I'm going to drop that in and even blend it down into the Seeing Red color. And I'll keep going back and forth with my colors, so back to the Pot of Gold, and I'm basically just pouncing my paintbrush with the color onto the surface and letting the wetness of the paints blend together. You can also go back with just a touch of water to help those colors blend together. And that's all you need to do to add your shading to the leaves. Now to paint the background, I'm using the color Cup of Joe, and basically a similar technique. So I'm applying that paint around to the background, adding some additional water to help things stay nice and wet as I work. And that also gets some variation in color, so where there's more water, it's lighter. And this is the color Chestnut, and I will drop that down into the area while it's still wet. Now, because the background size is a little bit larger, I am working somewhat in sections, so when I add the additional colors, it's still wet. But you can always go back and re-wet things with more water and more paint. And then you can see I'm just patting that in, pouncing it with the brush, and then letting that water really blend things out. Now these will dry lighter, and I like to start light and go darker. So I will add a couple of layers to this too. These, I think it's 5 colors, are really nice for an autumn color palette. And on the other swatches that I paint, I also add in the colors of Blue Moon, Seaweed, and Rockin' Robin, and those get us some nice greens and blues that contrast with these as well. And I've listed all the colors and stamp numbers and names at the end of the video with a complete supply list. And for this background, I just continue adding both of those colors, building up the intensity, and blending things out with more water. And I really want this to have an uneven, imperfect look, so it's okay if there's some blotchy areas and it's not perfectly smooth. I think that adds to the texture and the interest on the little swatch. So once that was dry, I'm going back and adding just a little bit of a shadow around the leaves. And to do this, I'm using the Aqua Hues color Intergalactic. I'm adding it around the leaf, and then I will go back with water to blend that out so it's not quite as harsh of a shadow. You can also add this to just one side of the image, and that will give you a different look. To keep things simple here, I just added it around the entire leaf. You can see when you add that water, how things blend out, and you get even more texture on the outer part of that leaf on the background. And here's just another example of going around with the Intergalactic and then going back with just water on my brush. And I'm starting away from the black area and working my way up into it so that when it gets wet, it bleeds out into the area where I applied the water. So here's a look at that finished swatch. And I just show you a couple other variations. And it was fun to have these all stamped ahead of time and my paint's ready to go and add different colors and try different things. And I also used the stamp flower box and use these autumn colors just to show you can use non-autumn stamps to get sort of an autumn look. And here's where I've mounted one of those swatches just to a miniature card. This also makes a great place card at the table, and you can add a name right below, write a message inside for your guests to keep. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to subscribe to both the Shimmerz and Penny Black YouTube channels. And for all the ways you can connect with both Shimmerz and Penny Black, I've linked everything up for you in the YouTube description box below. And as an added bonus, if you're placing a Shimmerz order, be sure to mention my name in the comments section of your order so you can receive free paint.